2 weeks ago, I released a video all about spells that every Dungeon Master should know. Ones I felt help you avoid common pitfalls, challenge your players, and enhance the story in fun ways. And don't get me wrong, I think I made a good list. But so many folks in the comments left really great suggestions for spells I hadn't even considered, or heard of in some cases, that I think are worth sharing too. So we're back for part 2, viewer submitted edition. Here are 6 more spells you might want to keep handy, just in case. Without further ado, let's get started. Your players enter the Necromancer's secret library in search of the artifact he's stolen. The villain will be getting back any minute now, so your party needs to hurry and find what they're after. They could use investigation, or maybe the rogue will... Oh, they're just using detect magic? Well, case closed. Wouldn't it be great if your villains could shut off all of those annoying magic fields and hide their cool stuff? Or even better, fool your players by making them think that mundane items, or traps, are actually magic artifacts waiting to be recovered? That's where Nystul's magic aura comes in. With it, you can cause a magical item to register as non-magical, or vice versa. You can also change what school of magic it appears as if you want to. A simple way to make your players work a little harder to uncover the magical secrets in your bad guy's lair. It can also change the creature type of one willing target too. Not only is this great for hiding the true nature of an enemy, that vampire will now register as just a normal human instead of undead to any prying magic, but you're also changing what spells can affect them. A Lich, under the effects of a magic aura, can now cast Simulacrum, making a near perfect copy of themselves. That is terrifying. Perfect for crafty dungeon masters. But what if that's not enough to hide your villain? Your pesky players keep scrying on the Archmage, checking out his plans and tracking his movements. Better yet, they can scry on the magic artifact he's stolen. He might save against the spell, but the MacGuffin won't. How can you protect your bad guys from the prying eyes of the party? Well, with a little bit of diamond dust, you can use Nondetection, a spell that protects the target from any divination magic for 8 hours. And that target can be a person, place, or thing, so your villains can hide their entire lair or just one really important object. Now they can get the privacy they need to complete their evil rituals and dark deeds. At least until the players figure out another clever way to find them. They are the main characters after all. Do you like traps? I like traps. In fact, I'd wager that most dungeon masters are fans of traps. Whether in a dungeon, the vampire's mansion, or a chest your party really shouldn't have stolen, it's fun to plan little surprises for them to find here and there. And one spell that helps you lay down those obstacles in pretty much any situation is Glyph of Warding. The spell is simple. You choose where the glyph is placed, usually on a surface or inside an object, and then what triggers it to go off. When it activates, it can either explode, classic, or it can have a spell placed inside of it of equal or lesser level to the glyph, which starts at level 3 but can be upcast. I can't understate how useful this is. Instead of having to hand wave things as DM magic, Glyph of Warding lets you have all sorts of magical effects triggering all over the place at the cost of only a 3rd level spell. There are limits, of course. Spells placed inside have to either have one target or be an area of effect spell, but even then, you can get very creative with traps involving the glyph and what your players have to do to trigger them. Next time they pick up that ancient artifact they really shouldn't have, you'll be ready. When setting up fights with big boss monsters, their lair can become as much a factor in the battle as the enemy themselves. And for some creatures, like dragons, this is easy. They have lair actions that come with the monster. But a lot of enemies aren't given those extra abilities, even if they would really benefit from them. And even if they do, sometimes you want to build up that encounter even more. Hallow is the spell for the job. With it, you can ward a 120-foot area against certain creature types, keeping them from entering. That's great, but it's the second part of the spell that's really useful. You can choose a secondary effect, and for most of these, you can have them affect any creature type, including humanoids, like most of your players will be. Let's give a few examples. You can make humanoids vulnerable to necrotic damage, perfect for the Lich using spells like Blight and Finger of Death. You can have silence fall over the whole area, nullifying any of your players' spells to use verbal components, while the enemy warlord swings their axe freely. You could cause any humanoids to become frightened, leaving the Horned Devil to laugh while they cower in fear. The list goes on. You can really get creative with it and add a lot to your battles, all with just one little 5th level spell. In the first video, I talked about Forbiddance, a 6th level spell that prevents creatures from teleporting into certain areas. Great for keeping your players from just popping into the top of the Lich's tower and avoiding the entire dungeon you have planned inside. But what if you wanted to do essentially the same thing, but for a lower level spell slot instead? Private Sanctum is your answer. It has a smaller area, only 100 square feet instead of 40,000, and doesn't deal damage to certain creature types like Forbiddance can. But for a wizard's secret study or the innermost chamber of a monster's lair, it works wonders. You can't teleport in, And you can add in some other effects, like blocking divination magic and clouding the borders of the area so you can't see inside. Forbidden still has its uses, but when your evil mage is on a budget, Private Sanctum can be just as effective. Can a single spell become an entire dungeon? No, but this one can get pretty close. Guards and Wards is the perfect spell to flesh out that magic prison or add an extra layer of intrigue to the mage's twisting study. You can cast this spell on an area up to 2,500 square feet, and it instantly creates 4 effects. Fog fills the corridors and can even confuse people into thinking they went one direction when they actually turned the other way. Doors are magically locked and can appear like just a regular stretch of wall. Stairways get filled with sticky webbing, and then one of several spell effects that you get to choose. With this spell, you can instantly transform a mundane home or wizard's tower into a challenge for your players. When cast, you can choose creatures that aren't affected by it, namely the bad guy and their minions, so it only becomes a hindrance for your party. And if they try to get rid of the spell's magic, it'll take 4 castings to work, since the spell magic can only stop one of the effects at a time. For some quick security or the beginnings of an entire dungeon, Guards and Wards is a great spell to have in your arsenal. Those are a few more spells I think every Dungeon Master should know, but clearly there are lots more that I could have included too. I'd love to hear your suggestions again in the comments, and thank you to everyone who mentioned the awesome spells in this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this one, leaving a like is always appreciated. If you want to see more, you should subscribe to the Bard's College. I make videos all about D&D, DMing, and everything in between, so stick around. But for now, good luck, and remember, crit your players.